So by day, I work on software, but by night, I work on hardware. And actually, the fact that I work on toys is sort of accidental. I've always been sort of interested in all things electronic, but it has always been sort of like boxes that we work on them every day. How did they work under the covers? So, I had children, and they started having toys. They started getting rid of their toys, and we were giving them away, or we were, handing them down. And I realized that inside of those toys are electronics, the things we work on every day. So, it just sounded very interesting to me and very intriguing to me. So I really got into just taking them apart, figuring out, trying to understand how they do what they do, why they do what they do. And so, why do I do this? Well, kind of like the rock climbers, I guess, because it's there really, but you can. And again, I'm not an embedded developer, I'm not an electrical engineer, my formal training is in political science, right? But, I work on software during the day, and believe it or not, the hardware that runs our software works according to very fixed logic. Logic that's understandable just like the logic of software and of internet services. So, why do it? Well, you can do something with a product or a piece of hardware that has never ever been done before, which is awesome. It's uncharted territory. You can do something that's really, really cool. At least, at a minimum, you can excite yourself in a process, right? And you're not really hurting anybody, which is really important. So, today's toys are two handhelds for kids made by Leapfrog. The Leapfrog Didge, which was released in, I want to say, 2008. Handheld device, an educational handheld device designed, I guess, to compete with the Nintendo DS's of the world. And its follow-on product, which was released this year, called the Leapster Explorer, also known, as you'll see, at least in my presentations, and if you happen to drop by our IRC channel, the LX. So, what are we talking about? Well, they're toys, yes, but under the hood, there is an ARM processor. An ARM processor that is the same type of processor that runs phones, well, not the most recent phones, of course, but runs cell phones, runs PDAs, runs various and sundry other embedded computers. The processor in this case is called the LF1000. It's made by a company, I guess it was subcontractor or OEM by a company in Korea, Magic Eyes. They also manufacture that same processor under another name called Pollux. The Pollux processor runs a handheld called the GP2X Wiz. I don't know if some of you may have heard of this. It's an open gaming platform. Same processor. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of, if you look at the source for both devices, you can see a lot of overlap. In terms of clock speed, these devices are clocked at 393. The Wiz is clocked much higher. We've gotten it to run stably and successfully up to, I want to say, 700, after which things can kind of jam. Memory, 32 megs or 64 on the newer device. In terms of storage, NAND flash memory, 256 on the Didge, 512 on the Leapster Explorer. In terms of input, or I should say I/O, USB host is available on the Leapster Explorer by an accessory port that's on the bottom. I can show you that in a second. There's a camera that's going to be able to be attached to that device. That's on that USB host port. On both devices, there is a USB device. Okay, so when you do this, what's the first thing you have to do? Get as much information as possible. The data sheets. I'll say, I know you'll hear me say this again. Try to find the data sheets in terms of the CPU, of course, at a minimum, but any of the other chips that might be on that board, find data sheets, because there are treasure trove of information that you can use to explore, or I should say, explore the device. So, in the data sheet for the LF1000 or Pollux, what have we found? Well, many things. First, most important, on the chip itself, serial I/O. This will be important as we move forward, and you'll see in a couple slides why it's a UART. It has the ability, as I've discovered over time, many of these system on chips do, to be able to boot from serial, meaning you have a serial connection, you decide you want the device to boot your own bootloader. There are a couple of steps you need to take. Instead of booting from the bootloader that's on the flash, you can actually send it something else, change its personality, if you will, which is really, really cool. Onboard support for USB, I2C, SPI, just a large number of different types of interface types. The chips were originally designed to do things like gaming handhelds, but also GPS devices, HD radios, just a whole host. They call it, I guess, an application processor. So it's really the type of thing where if you want to make any sort of device, here is basically a system on a chip, a computer on a chip that you can use to build devices. Very interestingly, composite PVOut is also available, and I'll show you that, hopefully, if I can get everything to work. Did I say get the data sheets? Get the data sheets, because there's no way you can find anything like this out unless you read the data sheets and done the research. Other cool thing about these devices, Linux. They run Linux. Now, it wasn't, I don't think it was because they had this idealistic bent that they did this. They did it for time to market. As a matter of fact, my recollection is originally when they released the source code for this, they actually didn't do it right away. And it requires pressure from some of the copyright holders of some of the packages that they were using. So I say, hey, you know, it's really great how you do this device, but where's the source? So they, I would say a few months after the device was released, they did make source available for both. Really important, because the data sheets plus the source gives you the tools you need to explore these devices. So get source if you can, if it's available. Okay. What next? Well, ways in. Investigate the interfaces. Some tools you can use here that I use, and there's some of them I didn't mention. A multimeter. If you're going to do this, get a multimeter. It's really one of the key things in your tool set that you need to have. A soldering iron. Really, it's not hard. It does come in handy, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. So be not afraid. A few electronic components, and I'll show you if I can. I don't think I took it out yet, but there's a little card that I put together that helps with the TV out. And most important, your powers of observation. There are things there are behaviors that will happen when you probe or when you make changes that may or may not mean anything to you right away. Note them down anyway, because they will come back to help you or hurt you as you move forward. So really observe as much as you can in terms of state changes, voltage changes, how software behaves, and so forth. So, ways in. On the original device, the Digic, two obvious ways in. One is the USB port, USB device port, and the other is the cartridge socket. Well, USB is kind of its own voodoo in and of itself. So as we were working on this, and when I say we, there are a number of us kind of that are sort of loosely, I guess, allied around this channel on RC. We sort of began the exploration by exploring the cartridge socket. And I think it was a good thing that we did, because it ended up being very, very fruitful. So the first thing we did is we began to probe the card socket. So what you see here are two pictures by Claude Schwartz, who was, I would say, the grandfather ditch hacker, who began doing this work in 2008. This is his device, strands of Kynar here coming out, or I should say, wire-wrapped wires. Kynar is the plastic material that surrounds it, I guess. So very, very thin strands of, I want to say, 30-gauge wire hooked to these card socket pins to a dip switch that he used to basically change the states on the pins, trying to figure out what was what. What did he find? Serial. 115.2, 8N1. Pretty standard stuff. So by soldering the leads onto these various pins and connecting that to hyperterminal or CubeCom or MiniCom, you can get console. Actually, we'll show you that. In the end, the research and the probing, as I said, was very, very fruitful. So your UART was here, ground, or ECC here. But what else did we find? SD memory interface, SDIO. This is standard. It handles your SD cards like the ones you have on your cell phones. But it can also be used for things like little Wi-Fi cards and any other. It's just basically an IO device. And then NAND. NAND is again kind of flash memory, so you can hook a NAND chip directly up to this. But it also happens to be the format used by the Olympus and Fuji memory cards, the XD cards and the Smart Media cards. They're no longer really supported, but they're the only types of cards that are directly flash memory that you can hook up to these pins. So, so in discovering all that, what ended up happening? Well, that really kind of blew everything wide open. So you had developers developing and making their own breakout ports, hack breakout ports. So these are three of the first ones. So this one, my favorite, is an actual retail dish cartridge connected to a SparkFun FTDI breakout board with the hot glue. And you can see that he has soldered onto these serial pins. So I guess he's got strands of wire that get glued through and connect to this breakout to this USB connector. That's how it gets in. This gentleman, I think, burned his own board, as you can see up there. This is, standard PCB material. I want to say that black piece is from the CD case. I'm not sure about that though. And then this is again Claude making this first board. So that's kind of what transpires from all that. So the next thing I want to do. Oh, before that, so all that, so there's a lot of development going on, and somebody productized it. So we now have the first hacker-generated, the hacker-developed breakout board. It's called the DJHI, which means did you hack? And so these are now available. The gentleman who makes this now sells them for $20, and I have actually one here that I can show you. That basically breaks out the serial, breaks out the SD memory, makes things easier. Okay, let's get console on toy. All right, so let's see if this will work. I thought perhaps on a black background that I could maybe do this. How are we doing? Good? All right. Focus. Everybody can see that? Is it too low? We okay? Yes? It's good. That's good. All right, let's get through it. So, this is the DJHI breakout board. Place it in the cartridge socket. Then you connect you can use a SparkFun breakout. This happens to be a cable with the same it's a cable from the manufacturer, FTDI, which has the breakout board, I should say the FTDI chip built into the cable. And then just connect that to these 6 pins. You need power. Okay, so let's see. Sorry, I don't mean to make you dizzy here. Let's see if this will work. You guys see that? We also have guinea pigs for this camera. Since you can't project from an iPad, if you want to do a demo in front of a large room with an iPad out, you have to kind of show point the camera at it. So this is a document camera, but hopefully we'll do the trick for that. So, all right, so let's get into our terminal app. This is a non-traditional SparkFun presentation. Usually it's very. Let's try this one more time. was right about the demo effect. Demos really don't work. We need them to work. Of course, because it doesn't apply to Steve Jobs. Yay. Okay. So what we have here is that breakout board that I mentioned, connected to the card socket, connected by USB to my machine. So we're going to power it up. Here we go. Let me say that again.
Is this on stock hardware?
Hmm?
Has the device been modified?
I'm sorry?
Has the device been modified, or is this like a...
The device has not been modified. Ah, yes, user error. That was. Plan that is exactly how I want it to look.
Did you like software model?
So on this particular device, it's a little bit out of order. This is a bootloader that has been modified. Normally, if you don't get this background, this allows me to either boot it normally. Actually, this is actually a little bit closer. Might looks good for this. Oh, shit, autofocus. Look at that. Yay! How cool is that? Oh, stop. Stop.
Close.
There you go. No, it actually goes closer. Last time I was able to get down to about an inch. So, yeah, so you can basically boot it from NAND normally. So it's not focused. Download it, send something across by Xmodem. There's an SD, I forgot to mention, there's an SD card on this breakout, so I can pull bootloaders off of the SD memory if I need to. Or I can load another Linux kernel off of that SD as well. So let's just boot this thing normally. So we want to watch here. There we go.
Yay.
Gorgeous. Okay, I did a couple of reboots on this thing, but that's all. Anyway, so that's it. Now you're on console. So what is available here is a full-on file system. So what that means is you can basically, now that you own the device, you can let it do what you want. It's really, really neat. So got root. We got root. Yes. So the other thing I can demonstrate, which is a little bit perhaps. Oops. is booting from UART. Now this, I did not practice before. I mean, I've done this before, but I haven't practiced it. But what I want to show you is, because in the data sheet, it describes this way of booting from the serial port, it comes in handy. It came in handy when we were testing that bootloader you saw with the blue background that had to be tested. And at the time that we tested it, we didn't have lower level access, JTAG access on board. We'll talk about that later in a few slides. So UART boot actually came in handy. So the way that works is, the way that it works, at least on this device, is when you power it up, actually, you know what? I can't demonstrate it, because I forgot to jump it. So I'm not going to do that. But I can describe it. When you jumper two of the pins, pull the power down. Up and down your left foot. No. Pull the power down until the bootloader loads. It will allow you to send another bootloader over the serial onto the device. And like I said, unfortunately, I just realized now I don't have this little tiny microscope-sized jumper that sits on these two pins here. Anyway, I can't demonstrate, so I apologize for that. So let me go ahead and just move on to the slide besides which I have 3 minutes to finish. plus the thing that's going to happen next engine is really actually twice as cool as what I'm showing you. So the next thing you do, reverse engineer the hardware. Tools you need to use here. I found that a flatbed scanner is very, very handy. Take the board, stick it on the scanner, scan it. You can magnify it to your heart's content, frame it into Photoshop, trace out the traces, do all kinds of cool exploration with it. I have a stereo microscope that I purchased on eBay. You can find them on eBay for $200-some odd and up. It's basically a microscope that you've used in biology class for dissection. This allows you to get high levels of magnification when you need to do work on surface mount devices. A heat gun to desolder things. Actually, ideally you should have a hot air rework station, but they're kind of spendy, so I use the heat gun, and you'll see the results of that and the reason why a SMD rework station is probably better in a minute. Again, multimeter, JTAG dongle, and the issue. So the first pictures that appeared, same guy, this was Claude, who took shots of his dish back in 2008. In the course of my exploration, I actually overvolted one of my units, so it was dedicated to science. So this is the back of the board. The card socket has been completely removed. This is the NAND chip also removed, but it yielded fruit because over here are the JTAG pads. Once you have the JTAG pads, the JTAG pad joint test, what's the A stand for? Access Alliance. Anyway, it's industry standard for testing of electronics, of systems, embedded systems. It allows you to control the microprocessor itself. So there's a package called OpenOCD on-chip debugger that allows you to step through your programs at the microprocessor level, halt the microprocessor, check the state of your programs and the variables. Very, very useful. There's the other side. Decided, so you can see, actually on this picture, maybe on the next one, when you use the heat gun, you don't get, you tend to tear a lot of stuff up. So there's some of these VGA pins up there are gone because I was impatient and I ripped the thing off. But again, a very useful exercise because now it lets you see where all of these pins map out to. So it's possible to take something as simple as your multi-digit continuity checker, stick it on one pin, the other probe on someplace else in the board to figure out, okay, where does this trace lead? And you can do really cool exploration. Combine that with the data sheet. Now what can happen? Well, here's the data sheet page for the VGA pin for this processor. Wow. It's hard to see, but if you look at your coordinate A2 up there, video. You see that up there? Let me jump back to the previous slide. You see A2 up there? See where it leads? Test pad.
Oh.
Now we got video. So it was a matter of soldering some hookup wire to that test pad, bringing it outside of the device to get video. This is the Leapster Explorer product. Again, the follow-on product. You can't really see it, but I was really more careless here because you can see all the pins that are gone. Really, I think if I had been more patient with the heat gun, I probably would have been able to leave more of them on there. But that's what happened. But what's interesting is that they got wise to the fact that there were hackers working on this product. Because if you look at the top, you can see that the JTAG pins are now labeled. Right? Who is that for? Because they know what the product does. It's for us, right?
Love it.
So that really, made my week when I saw that. So in the end, what have we discovered? TV out, SPI, JTAG, audio. I didn't really show you that, but there's a little Cirrus chip on the bottom. That's kind of cool. It's actually possible to control that via the cartridge port. We have for leads, and we have O2 Joy actually playing in 8-bit mode off of this chip anyway. Other types of investigation? Well, use the source, right? Now this is where you're going to be more familiar, right? Because this is all software development. So what are your tools? The source code, obviously, an IDE, which you all use, and something called a cross-compiler. Cross-compiler basically allows you to compile programs on your laptop, which you then transfer to the device. Because the device, remember how powerful it is, or maybe how powerful it isn't. It's not going to be able to compile something for you, or at least not in, in the next 10 minutes. Right? So compile on your laptop or your development station. There's a cross compiler that compiles it into ARM code, which can then be run. GCC. So it's all open source. So what have we done? The product itself ships with the graphics driver. The graphics driver is proprietary. Not proprietary. It's just that for whatever reason they decided to do something standard. Since that time, we built our own frame buffer devices. So now there's now an FBDev that can be used to run things like SDL. SDL, I guess for lack of a better way of describing it, is the Linux version of DirectX. Right? So it's a graphics library that has it's a graphics API, I can say. I do another demo. I don't want to step on time that you guys have to do the POV, so what I can do is maybe offline show you the TV out. I brought a TV that I would plug up and actually do the demo with. And also the Game Boy Advance emulator, which now runs on. Okay, so recap. For methods, get the data sheets, get the source if it's available, look for ways in, reverse the hardware, use the source. Tools, at least some of them. Multimeter, I didn't mention this before, oscilloscope, really nice to have. Don't necessarily really need one, but you'll end up needing one. But again, eBay, you can find them for a song. Well, $100. $200. Soldering iron, again, don't be intimidated. Hookup wire, obviously, some basic electronics components, probably should find at your local shack. Heat gun, and a brain. One, ideally more, right? The good news is we're all on IRC. So on Freenode, we're on pound dig or hash dig, on Freenode. 24 hours a day, we're always there. Yeah. So resources. I can make these slides available on SlideShare. However, your better bet is to go to either of these two links, and they're linked to one another to get more information. This is my Twitter handle, my website, where you can find us on IRC. My nickname is Nervous, NIRVOUS, and you can find a couple of my exploits on Hackaday. Just search for the end.